Hey everyone, so there's a lot of people that have sent messages saying, hey, we want to see a room tour or, show us a collection, the Plastic Universe collection. And I was a little bit hesitant of doing that, but, might as well. We've been getting a lot of messages about that, so we want to please you. So I guess I'm going to start here. The first thing that I'm trying to achieve is to get helmets, but I'm very picky about which type of helmets should I get. Obviously, fat and look, and I couldn't resist that Darth Vader the moment it came out. I had that Stormtrooper. I don't know. That Stormtrooper has been with me for a few years now. Same thing with the one below, which was a GameStop exclusive. I actually got that one on retail. Oh, on clearance, I mean. And then that Tusken Raider mask is fairly new. I saw it in Walmart actually not so long ago, and it was, it wasn't that expensive. It wasn't cheap either. And then the Trandoshan below, I got it like, I don't know, last week, something like that. And that Ewok is the only pop in the whole collection. And of course, I got the Clone Troopers when they came out. It's a pretty neat helmet. I actually like it. It's better than the Stormtroopers because the Stormtroopers, as you know, they have that thing that if your head is too big like mine, you're not gonna have fun. I have a few things here. I mean, we're just gonna scroll real quick. Obviously, I have my cases, which I love. I mean, that Darth Vader case have been with me since the early 80s. A few of the Transformers that survived when I purchased the collection, and of course I have the C-3PO, and I cannot remember where I got that BB-8. You can see the Hash Ventress down there on the Unleash. The only two sabers that I got is the Obi-Wan Saver, and I just ran out of room. I'll explain the AT-ATs once we go around. And these, I don't know, I was just being candid, and I thought of doing like a big diorama. You will see that I'm huge into dioramas. So I guess I've been piling them up there while hoping to move to a bigger place and eventually do a diorama, but I don't think that's gonna happen at this point, so I don't know. Oh, I forgot to show this X-Wing that Francisco Salazar painted for me. This is this weird, it's like a Black Series type of scale. They're big, but I mean, the wings don't open. The cockpit doesn't open as well. It's pretty much just size. They were fairly cheap when we got them. But then, so I gave it to Francisco Salazar, and I told him, like, paint it up, do whatever you want. And he went, I don't know, with this ochre, goldish, dirty silver metal. He did this amazing paint job that I really enjoy. So I have it here on top of the helmets because this is a big guy that I don't know where else to put him. I don't collect that scale, but it's a gift. I really like it. So this is a work in progress. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on it because it's not finished. However, I've been told that it was cast, and this is a legit source, that it was cast from the actual mold that they were used in the film. I didn't get it because of that. I got it because who doesn't want to have a Han Solo frozen in carbonite right dead center when you enter the house? I mean, the first thing this is a great excuse to ask your girlfriend to get a golden bikini, I guess, unless you want to be like Jabba. So we're approaching what I call the Star Wars section. A little bit. Well, I haven't opened the Slay one. Yes, I'm calling it the Slay one, despite what Disney wants me to think now. Because I ran out of room. I've had this big plan of doing a Bespin diorama, but I honestly don't have anywhere to put it. Same thing with the Tantive 4, or the opening sequence of A New Hope, or the last sequence of Rogue One. I've been piling them up with hopes of doing a diorama that I might do, and then I guess put it back in the box. I literally ran out of room. So this is the Star Wars section. Star Wars has been essential since I was, 2 years old. I ran, obviously you're gonna hear it a lot, I ran out of room, so I thought, like, well, with spaceships, what better way than just to hang it on the ceiling and place them on the ceiling? And that's why you see like a little TIE fighter, X-Wing fight going on there. I have a few versions of a Falcon, like the Power of the Force, which is the, you know, fairly newest version, and this is a vintage Empire Strikes Back, I believe. But it's a vintage, it's somewhat complete, but again, I have another vintage over there. And of course the Legacy here, and down here in what I proudly call the desert scene. I love that Legacy version because it's gigantic. It's really big. I'm not gonna lift it up. This is a combination of Tatooine, Klaatu, I guess. I don't know, all the desert settings, because there's a little bit of everything. If you are like a purist, or if you're like, you know, very picky about timelines and stuff, then your eyes are gonna start trickling here, because as you can see, these are not the droids you're looking for, combined with Rogue One and Episode 1 and Anakin and you name it. But I like it. I really like it. I started it to do what I do for a living and collecting because of the Star Wars toys, and pretty much recreating the scenes, or being able to do, you know, somewhat recreate what the scenes would look like in my head, was essential growing up to become what I eventually did for a living, you know, which is filmmaking. So, of course, the centerpiece of the collection is the katana. I was so happy when I got that. This is like kudos to Hasbro for pulling this together. I love the project from the get-go. And I literally, this whole idea of having a centerpiece with a desert theme, Java meets the Sarlacc pit with, you know, the cells of the droids, and now Tusken Raiders, which are getting really, really hot with the whole Boba Fett series. By the time that this video is out, I'm pretty sure there's a few episodes out. But all of that was very essential when I was growing up. I actually did this cantina thing with my son, and this was a piece of foam that you know, that they come in. I bought a TV, I think that's what it was, and this is a piece of foam that comes with the chipper to protect the TV. And the moment I saw it, I remembered when I was a kid, and my dad used to get like electronics and stuff like that, and he used to do the same thing, like grab the foam piece and just paint it up and spray paint it, and I turn it into a cantina sequence, which again, I hope you don't mind about timelines and stuff, because there's a lot of people that shouldn't be together or shouldn't be in the same scene, but this is like my playground, so I'm not going canon or strict movie accurate type of settings. Like I have a New Hope across the street from Rogue One and Mandalorian, and the cell of the droids, and or a hand that shouldn't be hand training Luke on the Falcon. But you know, it doesn't. I really don't matter. I would love to have the space to do something like this, but with snow, because Hoth happens to be one of my favorite scenes from every single Star Wars movie, and of course, somewhat recreating the Hoth battle. I love when I got this. I actually got this on a garage sale, and there was this kid who was going to college, and he was just letting go of his things. So I went to this garage sale because it said toys, and there was a huge AT-AT sitting there, and he gave me a really, really good price on it. But you know, once again, Hoth, how many times I cannot elaborate how many times I play with Hoth figures, or I try to recreate snow as a kid, and I have, to the best of my knowledge, every single type of a snowtrooper ever made. I think so. Like I know these two are from different eras. I believe that was a Toys R Us exclusive, if I remember well. Of course, I have Game of Thrones leaking in the background, because this wall back here is a Game of Thrones wall made by Funko. But when I saw it, the first thing that came into my mind was like, oh yeah, that's the perfect hot battleground. So I have like 3 different iterations of the snow speeders. Of course, everyone has their own pilot, but then I really love this mess in some way, which is the rebels prepping up for either, you know, an imminent attack of the Empire, of, you know, just to escape. I really enjoy. I actually like this type of things more than this, and I know that these, everyone that comes to the collection, they get more compelled to look at the card because the card art is so beautiful. It takes you back to those which are the vintage, which we'll go there in a minute. And, you know, obviously seeing 50 feet of cards, it's I know it takes a toll on it, on everyone's impression. But from my perspective, I remember when I was a kid and we used to go to a Toys R Us, and my dad used to say like, all right, you can get one, but just pick one. Of course, we will go back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks and I will get another one. But facing in a Toys R Us as 7-year-old me, a huge wall filled up with cards and having to pick just one was very, you know, it was a very stressful situation that I actually mentioned that several times throughout Plastic Crack. So I guess this is an attempt to recreate that wall, but now I own the wall. Below HUD, and we'll go to that corner in a minute, but below HUD I have a little recreation of the arena of Attack of the Clone, and I'm sure that if I had more room, like if I would have put those sets in this type of setting, just like the arena, if I could do that here, I know it will look amazing, because they're like jamming there, and they're like the battle droids in the lower section, or the clones all the way in the back. You can barely gaze or have a real appreciation of how many people are just jamming there. But you know, one of the biggest issues that every collector faces is room. You know, you want to have more figures, you want to have more toys, but it gets to a point, and I consider myself lucky that I'm being able to get to this point of having enough room to display the collection properly. I'm not really eager into having thing clusters and in bins or in a storage room. I don't judge the people that do that, but if you ask me, I would prefer not to. Let me show you this section, which is always a big attention grabber, which is obviously, and is, people say, well, it's trending now, but I say, well, it's been trending since 1979, I guess. But that's my Boba Fett section. I have somewhat, I'm not a completist, I every time that I can, I grab one. I have like a Taiwan and a Hong Kong graded. The vast majority of them I graded. That's a picture, let me see if I can squeeze that out. I think this was at SuperCon, I think so. I was doing a panel and I met Daniel Logan. But at the same time, in another convention, which I don't remember which one it was, I actually met Jeremy Bullock, rest in peace, the original Fett. I had a signed picture of Temuera Morrison, but I gave it to my friend Pedro Nieves from Venezuela, which is he was the Jango Fett of the 501st in Venezuela, a very good friend of mine. So Fett has always been, and it always be, my favorite character. This whole section was originally Fett, and now it got a little bit invaded of Mando and Mandalorian helmets, but I mean armors. But I don't think anyone will mind. I sure don't. Like this guy, I wish I knew better, but I loved it in Clone Wars, and I loved that in every time that he showed up, I loved them. And I remember getting him at a Toys R Us, and I opened it up the same day that I got him. Little did I know, this guy is going for crazy prices right now, mint on card. But I never I've never purchased my things thinking of value purposes. These graded prototype and rocket firing versions, I got it mailaways. I got it like, months after they announced it. This rocket firing Boba Fett is the loose version of that because I was able to get two. So I open it, one to keep loose and one to keep Vinton car. It is what it is. So, in this journey, you get to a point that, okay, what should I do now? I don't have them all, because I don't think anyone does, but I have a fair amount, so what to do next? I mean, should I keep trying to get them all, or no? You get to a point that you jump and you start getting prototypes. So this is very fun, very pricey at the same time, but this is a very fun phase when you start jumping into prototype. I was mentioning Daniel Logan, and this is like a very neat prototype of a young Boba Fett. I came like that. I've been trying to get like a different type of version of it. Like I have these two different Django's and that Boba I believe that's from the Sarlacc scene. And this is the retro. The reason why this guy is not with them is because this is a modern retro version, so I just want to make sure they don't get mixed. I tend to give them a black, the Taiwan's gets a black base just so I know which one is one. And then I have like variations of colors of the armor or the belts, or you can get lost in the jungle of variants among Star Wars. And of course, the vintage collection carded. I try to have even the proof card. I try to have at least one of each when it was somewhat easy to go and pick them up. And now this whole online run and get it before they sold out in 5 minutes is, to be quite honest, is I'm a little bit annoyed about that. So I haven't gotten the newer versions. Ian Displays, shout out to my boy. I'm gonna put it on the lower third. So I get these cases from him. Some of them are graded. I only grade with CIS, and this was a high grade because I got it like case fresh, and I literally sent the case over to CIS. They're amazing. I'm also gonna put them on the lower third. So I'm pretty sure someone might cringe and say, "Oh, power of the Force," but these are not just any power of the Force. Actually, let me get this guy out. This is the infamous, very sought after, hard to find Canadian Weequay. That it was such a grail piece back in the day. Right now, it's still fetched for a decent amount of money, but once again, I never trying to hunt them down because of price. I actually got this one from a very good friend in Michigan, Travis Bold. Gave me a good deal on that one. She's Canadian, this Leia's Canadian, this Forlun Sutkas, whichever way you want to call them, is also Canadian. And then I have the newer 3 logo versions, which they vary from different. I remember getting this one in Spain. It actually has El Corte Inglés. It has the label from El Corte Inglés, the store that was selling that. So this look is Canadian. These are Ultra logo, and this Vader, it's one of the pieces that I love the most. It's a custom made piece. It was made by the now Venezuelan 501st, or El Club de Coleccionistas de Star Wars de Venezuela, and it's actually supposedly me. That's actually a picture of me dressed as Darth Vader back in the day, decades ago, and that's what it's called, Darth Guille Vader. Guille is my name short, and this is for something that we did for a channel called Radio Caracas Televisión. Her name is Maria Alejandra Requena. So they made this version actually holding a beer. This is my iteration of Vader. So I really hold Richard. I still todavía lo tengo y lo guardo con mucho cariño. This guy right here, why is he here? I can't remember. Oh, because I started and then I stopped. I gladly did. Started getting this, I still haven't figured out if they're errors or whatever, but the clone was green and then the card was blue. It gets to a point that you know, you start getting weird stuff like these. I remember when these were clearing out. Funny enough, because these are like super expensive now. So I got this whole piece. I think that was a KB Toys. I might be wrong. These are also foreign. That one was Canadian exclusive. These are all tri-logos. Now she's from Super 7. I always seen her. I love when they did this, and I always seen her as C-3PO's girlfriend, so that's why she's there. These are also tri-logos, and that's why the car is different. They're foreign. I'll be just keeping track of them. And of course, you're gonna say, "Oh my God, Episode 1 and Amidala." Well, Amidala right here. I don't mind. I'm very proud. I'm a very proud owner of an almost complete set of Padme's figures. I had a big crush on Natalie Portman. Who doesn't? But the thing is that this car, I'm actually gonna give you a demonstration because that car is made in France. It's French. So when you scan the chip, and I've shown this on other videos. She speaks French. And I have the Canadian version. This is in regular US. And then there's Mexico, but that one speaks English. And this is German, and that's a Chinese bootleg, which looks horrifying. But you know, I gotta have it. I gotta have it too. And then, let me show you the graded versions. Let me show you these graded versions as well. Basically, and we graded, like, I cannot recommend CIS more. They're just not just the display and the way that they treat things, but they work with you. So I told them, like, hey, I need to be able to scan these girls. And they did it in a way that the chip can...
Eres un jovencito muy raro. ¿Cómo sabes tantas cosas?
So she's from Spain. This is a weird Spanish accent.
Estos comerciantes de chatarra deben tener alguna debilidad.
Estos comerciantes de chatarra es española. She's from Spain. This is probably the American one. Let me see.
I've been trained in defense. I can take care of myself.
Like this thing is probably $1. It's probably $1. I don't know, not anymore because it's graded, but you know, you can easily find an American Amidala. Not the one that speaks Spanish, or I believe this is the Italian.
Sei curioso. Come sai tutte queste cose?
She's Italian. Sei curioso, come sai tutte queste cose? And then of course I had graded because I wanted to keep the run. I have graded the Chinese bootleg, which she's horrendous, and yet that makes her beautiful. But what else? Where else can you go after having all these variants from all these countries? Well, the prototype. And for me, this completed the run, having the prototype of that figure. That's literally the origin of where things come from. And so, therefore, this is pretty much the prototype, somewhat the prototype section. Because I have all those proof cards from the vintage collection. That was such a fun run to hunt down and eventually get the vast majority of them because I couldn't complete them all. I have this Lando, Return of the Jedi Lando. It's here because for me it's very special because when we were taping Plastic Crack at Gus's Lopez house, he gave it to me. And it's like a fun Star Wars memory from going to Coruscant of the collectors, Star Wars collectors. So that's why it has a special place for me. This is the only droids figure, not the only, yeah. The only, no, I have another one. This is one of the few droids figures that I have. This one, I don't think I can ever get rid of this one because this is an actual 35 millimeter frame from Episode 1. And we were doing the event. I've told this story I think in different podcasts and stuff. I was doing the event in Venezuela during the premiere of Episode 1 in the movie theater that I was playing along. They have, the way that it works is that the cans, you mount the cans and then the movie doesn't fit. A 2 hour, more than 2 hour film doesn't fit in one can, which is 35 millimeters. So you have 2, sometimes 3 set of cans, and you need to find a joint spot among them. So what they do is that they give you a longer version of the film with cutting points, and then they cut the points and paste it together. So that way, once it's in the projector, back then, now everything is digital, you had a little bit of gap of film, so you can make that tie. So the manager of the movie theater that was hosting the event gave me a piece, and I, you know, this was from the premiere of episode 1 in Venezuela, and on an event that I was producing. So it's very important for me, and of course I got it graded and I got it properly preserved. I have more prototypes here, like, you know, the Massive. This monster right now is getting really famous due to the Boba Fett series. But of course he was originated in Geonosis, and all of these are either prototypes or test shots of, I don't know, you know, Black Series, the newer stuff. I also have Melloweights, and I have them graded in this section. And the reason why is that when I was younger, and when we left the States and went back to Venezuela, that's what Power of the Force came back. And all these Melloweights were something really fun that you could get by either sending a proof, a certain amount of proof of purchase, to either the Collectors Club or to Kenner or then Hasbro eventually. But it was only for kids living in the US, and I wasn't. So for me, it was like really fun to watch these things on the Star Wars Galaxy magazine and that type of stuff, but never being able to get it because they couldn't ship abroad, and it was horrible. So I've been hunting them down and grading them just to take the spine out of my chest of, now I have the freaking Melloweights. In the loose section, man, where do I start? Of course, I have my vintage figures on one side. I have them by movies. So A New Hope. And these are not doubles, they're variants of some sort. I'm not big into finding variants of these type of vintage figures because you can easily go nut. But if you zoom in into look right there on your left, you will see that pants are different, hair is different. Same thing to Obi-Wan. If you pan right, you will see different type of hairs, probably different type of COOs. Same thing here with the Sand People. Like, I got the Tusken Raider graded because his hollow tubes, he's missing the tube. He has the little holes in the tubes, and that's a really sought after variant. And they're all different in some form of iteration. I don't have like doubles of any type. So obviously A New Hope at the beginning. By the way, these are my Woody, this 3PO and R2. That's my Buzz Lightyear, my Woody, and I'm Andy. These guys have been with me since I was 2 years old, and that's when they're all beat up, chew on, and play with, and I love them. I will never get rid of them. Below there, more A New Hope. Once again, they're all a little bit different in some form, and then we start leaking into Empire Strikes Back, which is my favorite movie of all times. I love those Landos. I mean, hunting down every single variant of Lando was so much fun. Like skin types and mustache or smile or no smile. Same thing with Leia's hair. Different type of hair colors, and it gets really fun at some point. Once we keep going down, you will see more hot guys and bounty hunters. Of course, once again, with variants and stuff. And this is not a thing that I'm actively looking for them, but if I see them and it's a good deal, I will not hesitate on jumping on that. On the right, we'll start, obviously, because they're backwards, but this is Return of the Jedi, mostly Palace or Jabba the Hutt type of stuff. Then once you go up, I have them formed maybe by alliances and stuff. But like, for example, what I was saying about the bases here at Leia. So this Leia is probably made in China. This Leia is definitely made in Taiwan, and this is either Hong Kong or vice versa. That's why they have different bases. So they're all different. in some form. But it's been fun, you know, keeping, this is a great excuse to say, well, you know, this guy has a different type of hair color, so you're just gonna get into it. All right, ran out of memory on the other card. So heading up, we're going a little bit modern. However, I really love this one. And I have a very funny story about this one, because there was this summer trip to Star Tours in Orlando, and this was prior to internet days, and you know, it was just magazines and stuff, and I was saving up all summer because I was gonna go to the Star Wars store at the Star Tours attraction. So I saved a lot of money to buy a lot of vintage Star Wars figures, because that was during the Black Days, so the days that no longer we didn't have any figures anymore. So the only thing that they have was these PVC figures that they were like in buckets, and now they're very somewhat hard to find. There's a few from Spain as well, and it's just a memory of deep pockets and nothing to buy. That was the only thing that they had at the store. These are obviously modern figures. There's stormtroopers from every era, from every type of iteration, but how can you not true build or get variants of these guys? They just look amazing. This one right here is what I call the corner of evil. It's basically every single bad guy represented in some form of version, or at least the ones that I like the most. From the Emperor in every way, shape, or form, to Emperor's aides or Emperor's allies, and then of course Vader, Maul, Grievous, Ventress, you name it. I mean, they're all in there. On this section right here, and this was prior to The Force Awakens. You know, we got the toys before the movie, and so I went nuts and started army building these new Stormtroopers because the trailer really caught my attention. Little did I know that the movie was going to be what it ended up to be. But anyway, I have my Phasma there, you know, escorted by First Order Stormtroopers. They're not my favorite. And from here down, it's just a series of modern figures that I'm not really sure what to put. So I just have them there in some form. Of course, my Rogue One figures, which I cannot love this movie more. And this series was so fun to collect and to hunt down and to, you know, I'm complete. I have every single one of them. Down here is a little bit of prequel era, Clone Wars, you name it. They're combined. Of course, I have my Obi-Wan section, which I'm pretty sure is gonna get hot really soon once they release whatever it is that they're doing. Same thing with Mace Windu. I really like that Jedi. And then down there's a lot of more prequel stuff and oddballs and even some now called legends. There's a little bit of everything on that side. Up here, also in between shelves, because again, space is an issue. I have the 3-packs. I have them piled up in cases. I mean, showing everything is nearly impossible. I'll have to do like a 2-hour video or something like that. But I have the 3-packs in between the shelves, because, you know, I would love to have these guys in display, but it is what it is. Here on this section, we'll go with the last of the 508, pretty much the last figures, which was that weird animated series that wasn't as popular as I thought. But then Solo, I just like Rogue One, I really enjoy hunting down the Solo figures and getting pretty much all of them. I remember getting that the Millennium Falcon, that I was not a fan of it, just to get that Chewie with goggles, and that's where I knew that I was going too deep into the whole thing. And then down here have by far my favorite animated version of every Star Wars thing ever made, which is Rebels and Clone Wars. Emphasis on Rebels. I really like Rebels. And so once again, once this thing was trending, it was topping, it was something that I really like, I cannot pass on in getting every single Rebel ever made, because this is such a nice and enjoyable animated series. Down here is my little modest droid section. I try not to get too crazy with droids because, I mean, especially with the ones from the Disney parks, it's so easy to just go bananas and have shelves and shelves and shelves of droids. I just, every now and then, if I see one and it's a good price, I just pick it up. And then down here are the Bendems. This is the least popular area of according to the people visited. I really like them. It's the Bendems, and then the episode 1. I have a little shrine to once again Natalie Portman, which I obviously have stated and established that I liked, escorted by her soldiers and everyone from Naboo and down. Speaking of Naboo, I have a little bit of Gungan representation here on this side with my least favorite movie at the top. The Rise of whatever the title was, but you know, I couldn't just pass it, and I have a little bit of everything there, but they're there. I mean, I don't like them, but they're there. Up here is a continuation of the droid section from the other side. It's just, to be quite honest, I ran out of room on this side. So I just started adding droids on this side, and I have a little bit of everything, more gunk droids. So obviously these BB units that they are mostly Disney park exclusive, and then so are these guys up here, which are pretty much a Star Tours exclusive, and then some of the newer films that I'm not a fan of. Here I'm starting to put together the retro collection, which I'm really digging. I'm really loving this ones because, you know, it's a retro style. I'm a big fan of this series. I actually have them down here. They're all cased. And where are they? They're here. They're all here cased. I have one of each case, and then I think I have another set for no reason up there. Yeah, there's another set for no reason up there. And then of course I have like my favorite clones. Clones are really hard to just pick one. So I have like very exclusive clones that I liked, and like I really like the Ahsoka here, dead center, and then especially the blue ones, like the blue section, and all the Vader's troops, and all the Rex iterations, or all the generals, or all the commanders, pretty much commanders. Actually, don't kill me. I really like this section. I mean, who doesn't like droids? Clones, I'm sorry. And of course, this is my modest Benton car vintage section. Out of these, probably this is maybe, I don't know, I like them all, but this is one of my pride and joy. And this is a 12 pack Han Solo, and I got it graded. It came out at 70, but I think it's a fair grade. It's the only 12 pack that I have. I'm not a die-hard Minton car vintage collector, but you know, if they come across and it's a good deal, I try to snag each one of them. This Java is pretty beat up, but it has the infamous rocket firing promotion in the back. So when I found it, I was so happy to at least add that piece of history, Star Wars history, to my Minton car collection. It's a modest collection. I do not have them all, but I have a bunch. And I'll just go by movies again. I go Star Wars, and of course Empire with Power of the Force, and I have mostly Empire back there. That one is a modern one. It's the jack face that came. I had it graded. It's the jack face that came with the sail barge, and so a HasLab exclusive. But I know that people that come and visit, this is usually a part that they truly enjoy, especially because in some cases I've been able to find the tree logos, or you know, like this one up here is a tree logo version of this guy, so I have two different prawn face. Or like here, let me move to the next section, and once again in between shelves, because out of room I have the tree packs. I really like when these came out. I remember hunting these down in Target. They were really fun. And Ian Displays and Accessories, he has this really perfect case for them. It's a lovely way to preserve it. Like here, I know that a lot of people like to see these type of things. For example, she's Canadian, and you know, it's love. I really like to see weird cards. It's just not that hard to find, but it's the only, pretty much, I think it's the only Princess Punch or Princess Leia that I have, and it happened to be a Canadian order. The things about these is the cards, man. The card art is unique. I every time that I look at this one in particular, just go back to when I was 8, 9, or 10 years old and picking this up at the store was just amazing. So the vast majority of these are Return of the Jedi, and I have the Dutch Clippers, which basically it's a sticker. It's pretty much an American card, but it has a sticker in German, and there's they call it Dutch Clipper because it has this clip, and I think it was Dutch, not just Germany only. I think it was Germany and probably Poland. I don't remember at this point. More Power of the Force. Once again, like a B-Wing fighter like this and a B-Wing fighter, Power of the Force. I know a lot of people that come here love to see a carded Minton card figs, because they're always, you know, they're always the hot popular cake. And let me move this out of the way so I can show you more. Once again, in between shelves, I have the 3-packs. Here's another 3-packs. Oh, this is Boba Fett, and it was a Target exclusive. It was a villain set. This is really cool. I really love when we used to get this type of cool things. We don't have them anymore. More Jedi Minton card figs. These are very special because that 2-1B with that card has been with me since I was 8 years old. So that card is all beat up, but you know, a card is the ultimate survivor. And same thing with these mini rigs. They've been with me since I was a little kid. I bought them. I remember when I got them, and I got them in Valencia, Venezuela, in a store, in a lovely brick and mortar store called El Gatito Azul, which was a very lovely family-owned store that I remember and loved. Up here, I'm trying to make a long video short, but I know it's really hard. Up here I have all this cardboard. This is probably the only cardboard things that I have, because I'm not a fan of having cardboard stuff. But it's the only playsets that they made for a solo line. And I dig them. I mean, they're cardboard and they're not my favorite thing. Up here, I don't know if you can reach, but I have more solo stuff. And I have like a little rebel base, if you will, type of area where I have like rebel fighters. This is like a more solo figures, and I'm pretty sure I've had every single vehicle. I was able to complete the line when I was coming up. And I have a little bit here of Bespin, which I love to recreate. On this section, I'll let you come all the way here, but on this section I love to recreate Bespin. I wish I had more space, because you know, I have like Leia trying to prevent Boba Fett to take Han frozen in carbonite, and also I have like the meet and greet between Lando and Han Solo when they arrive to Bespin, and a little bit of Ugnaught fighting Chewie for the Tripio in pieces. This is, I mean, Empire. Empire is one of my all-time favorite movies. Well, I haven't made emphasis on that, but I have the vintage collection all over the room, all over the upper part of the room, the carded ones. Some of the Macquarie concepts I can see there, more trade logos, more vintage stuff, and some other stuff that are not even, like, I have these bootlegs that I got in Venezuela back in the day. They were Chinese bootlegs, and some of the stuff. These are actually, I hold this very dear and care to my heart, because I use these for, and I'm gonna put the link on it. I use this for a stop motion that I made for Lego many years ago, and they really like it, and it's still around. But I use these for a stop motion that I made for Lego, so that's why they have this special place here. More vintage collection here. Oh, let me show you this crazy part of the house, because again, I ran out of room, and I try, even though that I try not to have boxed vehicles. Maybe if you can zoom in, you know, right. I have a lot of like the AT-ATs. I wish I had more room to place them differently, but I have all the AT-ATs up there. And then I have boxed vehicles on the other side. So those boxes are in pristine condition. Every now and then I go up there and dust them out. I love how those AT-ATs, especially with the backlight look, and I have quite a few of them. One of them is from my childhood and the other one is from Rogue One. And then, well, that's pretty much, I don't know, I guess I did show the clones on that side, and all the way in the corner down there, and I have the retro, like clones. Who doesn't like clones? I mean, it was so much fun to put clones together. I know what I haven't shown, and I'm leaving that to the very end. Follow me, because I know that people don't necessarily dig the new power of the Force. Oh, of course, these two guys, badges. Oh, these are Venezuelan stuff. These were phone cards made in Venezuela by a company called Movistar in conjunction with Motorola, and they had this promotion, but it was licensed, and there was exclusive Venezuelan stuff. So this was the promotion for the Venezuelan thing. Con esta promoción, La Fuerza te está llamando, The Force is calling you. It was for episode 3. Badges from events and stuff like that. This was El Periódico. There was a newspaper called El Nacional in Venezuela. This is July of 1999, and a big hug to Gonzalo Peña, who did this article of my collection back in the day. I have a lot of stuff here, but they're on this walls, but there are mostly from G.I. Joes. Like these are handmade sketches made by Larry Hama, Mark Pennington, and well, I used to do events or produce events in Venezuela as well when the whole fan club started. Saludos to Alexander Gonzalez and Richard Gonzalez. So here I have all the batches of events and stuff that I've done. But let me show you. Okay, so change of battery there. These are, I really like getting these, because these are like, once again, the car was red and then the figure was green. Or, you know, I don't think there's actually variants. I just love finding these. KB Toys used to have this a lot. These guys, I bought them in Spain, and the car is very similar, however it's in Spanish. Archivo de la Fuerza, and is also in French, but it's basically, so that's why they're like here. So going back to this, I know that this room, it doesn't belong to a Star Wars section, but this is where Galaxia de Plásticos tape and some of the plastic chats were taped. But this is my G.I. Joe room. Coming in. And we're gonna make another video, just, you know, eventually we'll make another video about the G.I. Joe, so stay tuned to watch that video. But what I do want to show you from this room is that, because I ran out of room, I have all the Power of the Force figures and some of the newer stuff, like, you know, Rogue One, some of the droid sections on the ceiling, because I just ran out of room. So all these extras, weird stuff, or old cool stuff, I just put them up there. Like, you know, I have some that I like from episode 1, some that I like at least the cars, obviously from Rogue One and Force Awakens. I mean, whatever. But like those, that set of episode 1, they're all Italians, and they're all speak, like, well, I'll say speak, but when you scan the chip, they all speak in Italian. And I tried to have a little bit of every saga of every series. You can't have them all, so I just have a little bit of everything up there. Something with the roof. There's more stuff up there, so it's really hard. But I mean, this as you can see in the title, this is the tour of the Star Wars room. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll make one about G.I. Joe and Masters of the Universe, but stay tuned, and we'll do another tour about the other lines.